Constantinople, 523 CE. A woman named Theodora is screaming as liquid gold drips down her naked body in front of thousands of spectators packed into the Hippodrome. Byzantine historians tried to erase this moment from history, and they almost succeeded. But what I'm about to tell you is so disturbing, so twisted, that it's going to change everything you thought you knew about ancient Rome and Byzantium. Because this wasn't just an execution, this was art. And the methods they used were so horrifying that even battle-hardened Roman soldiers would vomit at the sight. We're talking about 3 execution methods that slowly poisoned victims from the inside out, transformed living humans into golden masterpieces, and trapped conscious souls inside bronze shells for days. And here's the thing that's going to haunt you. One of these methods was actually considered merciful by the executioners. I know, right? Stick with me because this story gets so much darker. And by the end, you're going to look at every ancient statue in museums completely differently. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this is going to absolutely haunt your dreams. And trust me, we're just getting started. Let me paint you a picture. It's 312 CE, and you're standing in the Colosseum. 50,000 people are packed into this arena, and the crowd is absolutely roaring. But they're not watching gladiators fight to the death. They're not even watching lions tear apart criminals. No, they're watching something far more twisted, something that would make modern horror movies look tame. Between 200 and 600 CE, during the height of the Roman and Byzantine empires, they perfected what I can only describe as the art of public spectacle executions. But these weren't your typical beheadings or crucifixions. Those had become boring, predictable, mundane. The crowd demanded innovation, and the emperors needed to cement their power while satisfying this insatiable bloodlust. So they discovered something truly sinister. People would watch the most horrific things imaginable if you made them beautiful enough. They fused artistry with agony in ways that would make you question everything about human nature. And here's what's really twisted about all of this. These execution methods were so visually stunning, so mesmerizing, that people would travel hundreds of miles just to witness them. Imagine being so captivated by horror that you journey for weeks just to see it in person. But recent archaeological evidence suggests there was something even deeper going on here. The emperors weren't just killing people for entertainment. They were creating something. They needed their victims to stay alive, to remain conscious while they were slowly encased in precious metals. And the reason why? Well, that's going to blow your mind. But we'll get to that. First, let me tell you exactly how they did it. Method number 1. Mercury poisoning. Picture this. You're chained naked to a marble table in the center of the arena. 50,000 Romans are staring down at you, waiting, anticipating. An executioner approaches with a large brush and a bowl of liquid mercury. It looks like liquid silver, beautiful and mesmerizing as it catches the sunlight. He begins painting it onto your skin, and at first, it actually feels kind of refreshing, cool against your skin. The crowd gasps as they watch you transform before their eyes into what looks like a living, breathing silver statue. You appear beautiful, ethereal, like a goddess descended from Mount Olympus. But here's what the crowd doesn't know, what you don't know yet. Mercury absorbs directly through human skin, and it's already beginning to poison you from the inside out. Now, we know the horrifying details of what comes next because of Procopius, a Byzantine chronicler who documented these executions in his secret histories. These accounts were hidden in monastery vaults for over 800 years because they were considered too disturbing for the public. Within the first hour, your hands start shaking uncontrollably. The silver coating begins to crack and flake, and you can't stop it. Your mouth fills with saliva that's been tinged silver, and it drips down your chin. The crowd thinks these are divine tears, and they're absolutely mesmerized. But inside your body, mercury is attacking your nervous system. Your vision blurs, your speech slurs, and your brain is literally being attacked while you're completely conscious and aware of everything that's happening. The executioners knew exactly how much mercury to use to keep you alive as long as possible while maximizing the visual spectacle. One victim, according to Procopius, lasted 7 hours. 7 hours of slowly losing her mind while maintaining that silver goddess appearance. The crowd cheered every twitch, every convulsion, thinking it was some kind of divine performance. And here's the truly heartbreaking part. For the first hour, the victims actually believed they might survive this. They thought maybe this was just for show, that they'd be released. But mercury doesn't work that way. It steals your personality, your memories, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. The executioners had a term for these victims. They called them mercury maidens, women who had been transformed into living art through liquid metal poisoning. And the worst part, this was considered one of the more entertaining executions because of how beautiful the transformation appeared to the crowd. But mercury poisoning was just the beginning. Method number 2 is going to make your skin crawl because it was actually considered merciful compared to what else they did. Gold leaf suffocation. Cassius Dio, a Roman historian, recorded every single horrifying detail of this method during the reign of Emperor Commodus. Here's how it worked. First, they would soak the victim in a special adhesive made from tree sap and animal fat. Then, sheet by sheet, they would apply paper-thin gold leaf to every single inch of the victim's body. The crowd would watch in absolute awe as a living, breathing person slowly disappeared beneath this perfect golden shell, transforming into what looked like a solid gold statue. But here's what makes this method so insidious. Gold leaf doesn't just cover your skin, it seals it. And human skin needs to breathe. Your pores need to release moisture and toxins constantly to keep you alive. When those pores get sealed, your body temperature immediately starts spiking. You're essentially suffocating from the inside out, but not through your lungs. Your sweat has nowhere to go. It builds up beneath that golden surface. Your heart rate accelerates, trying to cool your body down, but it can't. The moisture trapped beneath the gold creates air pockets, and the crowd can actually see the golden surface buckling and rippling as your body fights against its own imprisonment. The executioners had it timed perfectly. 23 minutes. That's how long it took for victims to lose consciousness. But here's the thing. They didn't care about the victim staying conscious for this one. They cared about the visual transformation. They wanted the crowd to see something beautiful, something divine, while the person underneath was struggling for their life. And when it was over, when the victim finally died, that gold leaf preserved their expression forever. They would carefully remove these golden death masks and display them in wealthy Roman villas as decorative art. Emperor Commodus had a gallery of 47 of these things, and he called it his Gallery of Gods. 47 people who died in absolute agony, displayed as art pieces for entertainment at dinner parties. But both of those methods pale in comparison to what I'm about to tell you. Method number 3 is going to make you question everything. And here's why. We have actual archaeological evidence of this. In 1982, archaeologists were excavating a chamber beneath a Pompeii amphitheater, and they found something that changed everything we thought we knew about Roman executions. This chamber had been sealed since 79 CE, just weeks before Mount Vesuvius erupted. Inside, they found 12 human figures covered in bronze. At first, they thought these were just decorative statues, preserved by the volcanic ash. But when they did X-rays, they found complete human skeletons inside every single bronze shell. These weren't statues. These were people who had been slowly encased in bronze while they were still alive. Let me explain how this worked, because it's genuinely nightmare fuel. Bronze encasement wasn't like gold leaf. The executioners would mix bronze powder with tree sap to create a thick paste that would harden over several hours. They would begin applying this mixture to the victim's body, starting at the feet and slowly working upward. Unlike gold leaf, this method allowed the victim to keep breathing through small holes left at the nostrils. But here's where it gets truly diabolical. The bronze mixture was specifically designed to crack under pressure. Every time the victim breathed, every time they twitched or struggled, visible fractures would appear in their bronze shell. The crowd would watch as the victims slowly broke apart their own prison through the simple act of trying to stay alive. The scratch marks we found on those Pompeii victims tell a story that's going to stick with you forever. Deep gouges where they tried to claw their way out. Fingerprints preserved in the bronze where they pushed and struggled against the hardening shell. It took 68 hours for the bronze to fully harden. 68 hours. And during that entire time, the victims remained conscious. They could speak through those breathing holes. They could beg for mercy. They could have full conversations with spectators who would stand around them, discussing their artistic merits like they were inanimate objects instead of human beings dying in front of them. But why? Why would anyone do this? Here's where this story takes a turn that's going to fundamentally change how you see ancient art. In 2019, archaeologists working in a restricted chamber beneath St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City made a discovery that the Catholic Church tried to suppress for 3 years. They found dozens of these golden and bronze figures, and every single one of them contained preserved human remains. But that's not the shocking part. They also found texts, ritual texts, explaining that these executions weren't just entertainment. They were religious ceremonies. The ancient Romans and Byzantines believed that if you encased someone in precious metals while they were still alive and conscious, you could trap their soul inside forever. Think about that for a second. They weren't just creating art. They were creating eternal guardians. These bronze and golden figures were placed in temples, in palaces, in sacred spaces because they believed the victim's consciousness would remain trapped inside, eternally aware, eternally suffering, eternally protecting that space. Every golden statue you've seen in a museum, every bronze figure from ancient Rome, could potentially be an actual person. And according to these texts, their consciousness is still in there, trapped in eternal torment. The priests who performed these executions described the process in chilling detail. The victim had to be aware during the transformation. Their consciousness had to be intact for the soul trapping to work. That's why mercury poisoning was so carefully measured. That's why bronze encasement took days instead of hours. They needed the victim to experience every single moment, to understand what was happening to them, because that awareness was what bound their soul to the metal. Several ancient texts describe priests reporting supernatural phenomena around these figures. Whispers coming from sealed bronze shells, eyes that seem to move and follow people, a strange warmth emanating from golden statues that should have been cold metal. In 542 CE, Emperor Justinian officially banned these execution methods, but not because he suddenly developed compassion. According to Byzantine records that were only translated in 2003, he stopped the practices because of supernatural disturbances in the temples. The golden and bronze guardians were becoming too active, too aware, causing problems that the priests couldn't explain or control. But here's what's going to keep you up at night. The official ban didn't stop the practices. They just moved underground. Monasteries continued performing these transformations in secret for centuries, and the Catholic Church spent the next 1,000 years trying to destroy every record of it, burning documents, sealing chambers, doing everything they could to ensure nobody else would find out. These methods didn't just disappear into history. They influenced medieval torture techniques. They inspired Renaissance artists who studied the execution methods to create more lifelike expressions in their sculptures. Some of the most famous death masks in European art history weren't created through traditional casting. They were copied from these actual execution death masks. Those anguished expressions preserved in gold and bronze. Modern chemical analysis of certain ancient statues has revealed something absolutely chilling. Traces of organic compounds that shouldn't exist in pure metal castings. Hair, bone, tissue, all transmuted and preserved within the metal itself, suggesting that these aren't sculptures at all, but preserved remains of actual human transformation. So let's recap what we've learned here, because I need you to understand the full scope of this horror. Mercury poisoning stole your mind while keeping you beautiful. Gold leaf suffocation made you a work of art as you died. Bronze encasement trapped you conscious and aware for up to 3 days while you slowly became a statue. And all of it, every single method, was designed not just to kill, but to transform, to create, to trap human consciousness inside precious metals for eternity. The Romans and Byzantines discovered something that we are still grappling with today. If you make horror beautiful enough, people will not only accept it, they'll travel miles to see it, they'll celebrate it, they'll turn it into entertainment. And here's the thing that should really disturb you. We haven't changed. We live stream executions. We turn violence into entertainment. We consume horror media constantly. We've just gotten better at pretending we're different from those Roman crowds. But we're not. That same appetite for beautiful brutality, for artistic suffering, it's still there. It's just wrapped in different aesthetics, different justifications. Those 50,000 Romans cheering as someone slowly transformed into a golden statue? They're not that different from millions of people clicking on shocking content, sharing videos of suffering, consuming tragedy as entertainment. The next time you visit a museum and see an ancient Roman statue, a Byzantine bronze figure, a golden artwork from that era, I want you to look at it differently. Really look at it. Look at the expression captured in that face. Look at the details in the hands, the tension in the muscles. Ask yourself, is this art? Or is this someone who's still in there, still conscious, still trapped, screaming silently from inside their metal prison for over 1,000 years? The beautiful terror that started in those Roman arenas continues to watch us from museum walls, from temple corners, from ancient ruins scattered across Europe and the Mediterranean. And if those ancient texts are right, if the soul trapping actually worked, then every visitor who stands in front of these pieces, admiring their beauty, their craftsmanship, their artistic merit, is actually standing in front of someone's eternal torment. You're admiring their prison. You're celebrating their suffering. You're doing exactly what those Roman crowds did 2,000 years ago. The only difference is now we call it culture. We call it history. We call it art. But maybe, just maybe, we should start calling it what it really is. Beautiful, terrible, and absolutely unforgivable. and this research has fundamentally changed the way I look at classical art forever.